One. Welcome to the Music Podcast. And my goodness, do we have an unbelievable guest with us this week, which I'm so delighted to be on here with myself and Tom. We have Brenda Combs here, which is an incredible because, Brenda, we do a lot of musicians on here. You're going to show us the other side, the little secrets today. Obviously, taking time off from managing to focus full time on your doctoral research, focus on mental health within the music industry and artist management. So there's a lot that we can go through. But we want to know a little bit more about your music taste first. So we're going to start with over and underrated to see what artists you vibe with. There's no right or wrong answer. There might be underrated, overrated, or rated just fine. You guys are going to let me know. And we're going to start with the one, the only Lord.
Ooh, I think I would say at the moment she's rated just fine. I feel like um back when she was younger, I don't want to say I feel like she's always been rated just fine in the sense that she's super popular and she absolutely should be. I love what she's doing right now, how she's kind of come out of nowhere and putting new music out. I've been listening to it on repeat, and I just saw online that she's filming a music video somewhere in London. So she's kind of just doing very grassroots term. I don't know if that's a term, but the music video that she did for I think it's what was that? And New York, I just found very, very cool. So I think she's rated just fine. If anything, underrated, but everyone's obsessed with her right now.
She's had a big, big comeback. Tom, what's your say?
I think I'd say underrated as well. Or, I think very interesting artist and I don't think gets the praise that she deserves for doing so on like a
Mhm.
deeper level, and it's sort of the way to put stuff together is a lot more interesting than I think people just give her music credit for. So I think people are very quick to dismiss the music and they don't really sort of fully engage with the artist. So I'd say underrated.
Fantastic. Okay, next artist is going to be Lizzo.
Ooh, she had a bit of controversy there, unfortunately. So I would say right now, again, not to be boring, but maybe rated just fine. I feel like what was her big song that came out? It came out and then it wasn't for 2 years that that song became pretty well known. Truth Hurts. That came out in 2019. I think it was 2 years later that was nominated at the Grammys for Song of the Year. But unfortunately, with some of her controversies coming out, I think it was related to maybe how she treated her team or something like that. I would say for now, rated just fine. I'm honestly not sure if she's come out with anything in the last couple years.
Yeah, let's quiet down a little bit. Tom, what's your thoughts?
I think overrated.
Ooh, straight in.
Yeah.
Just leave
Nothing
it
else.
at that. Okay.
Yeah. Agree with that.
Wet leg.
Ooh, I mean, a lot of the music industry people I've talked to do not love Wet Leg. I think they're very much underrated. I feel like a lot of the arguments, it's not real music, this and that. I think they're doing something different. The one thing I don't love, I don't know the title of it, but they're kind of getting ready for a release of the song, but they kind of did the same thing where they talk through it and then sing within the song. But I think that original song that went super viral, I think in the main cohort of humans, it's rated just fine. But in the music industry, I think there should be more positive talk on Wet Leg. I think we're going to hear a lot more music like that 10 years from now, and we'll look back at Wet Leg being a bit ahead of the game.
Tom, agree?
No, I don't agree. I'm not a ma-
Mine's an unpopular opinion.
I'm not a massive wet leg fan, to be honest with you. I think they got they came up, and obviously, especially here, they got a lot of traction very, very quickly. Certainly to what I know, and I liked the songs. Um, I like There was Shay's Lounge as well. That's a good song, but I just it's done, And I think they had a moment, and I don't know how much more success they'll have if they just keep on. I know what you mean, like talking through the songs, but I don't think that's a new phenomenon. I don't think they've stumbled across something. I think that deadpan sort of delivery of lyrics. I don't think it's anything revolutionary. I do think they're unique in the fact that they got that so popular, but I think there's other artists that I enjoy that are different to that.
It's a weird one with leg because a lot of people call them industry plants, but you still have to have talent to do that.
Yeah.
And the reason I ask is because the new single, Catch These Fists, I love. I think it's absolutely incredible, and also what it's done for the Isle of Wight scene. Because Brenda, as you mentioned, I've seen a lot more artists come up through the Isle of Wight, where they're from, but have a very similar sound. Uh, Ugly Ozone, The Peel, brilliant artists, very live acts. So I'm kind of sat in the middle, really, where I can't make up my mind. But I did see them live, and you couldn't not watch. They definitely commanded the attention on the stage for their presence. So an interesting one. An interesting one. Right, that's it for over and underrated. Brenda, we want to talk to you about your background. You've obviously studied the intersection of mental health and artist management. What's one thing you think every manager should stop doing today? Should be a big, hard red flag.
Um, of course, I haven't been in a lot of the conversations where you're trying to work with an artist, but I think managers, if they are doing this, and from what I've heard some of them do, you should not offer the entire world to an artist before you start working with them. I think it's the manager's responsibility to be a bit more realistic about the nature of the music industry itself, that unfortunately you may not make it to the highest state that you want, but maybe offer some more realistic options, doing sync, writing music for other people if it's not working in the way that they want. So I'd say being realistic at the beginning and not offering the entire world to the artist right when you start working with them, because then that leads to some unrealistic expectations.
I think that's a common theme within the music industry, promising the world and maybe under-delivering it to a point. From your experience in this industry, you've been South by Southwest this week. What's something that's really missing? What do you see in the next couple of years that's coming that people should get ready for in this industry?
Well, what I hope that is coming and is related to my research is more protection for the artists relating to their mental health. Um, some of the biggest issues that artists are facing related to their mental health are the fact that they do not have regular schedules, they do not have regular payments. They have to basically work to the bone to be able to live a very not even normal life, just to feed themselves, live, especially if they're in a city like London, New York, LA, where you kind of have to be to make it all work. So I feel like protection for artists, and not just that, but free protection, whether it's subsidized by the government, record labels, offering counseling, support with writing contracts and reading them, making accurate deals. And a lot of that, I think, happens with some negative aspects of the music industry, specifically like record labels, I would say. So more support from the labels and just from the government and in general. I would love to see that happen in the industry. And I think it would allow for different types of artists to come out of the fold and, see the music that I think a lot of people are wanting to hear.
When I completely agree, and I feel like not knowing when your next payment is, your routine. If that was happening to me, it'd be extremely stressful. And I think a lot of artists go, "Oh, but when I make it big, when I make it big." We saw with Sam Fender, he had to stop his live side from just pure burnout, being in the country every day, the travel, it all adds up and takes its toll. If artists would like to see some of your work or research, Brenda, is this something that they can get hold of? Is this something in the future that's coming?
So yes, I'm currently in the doctoral process at this moment. I'm very anxiously awaiting my results. So probably in the next few months, I will have my research published, which is a PhD. So that's like a 300 page document. Not recommending anyone to read that directly, way too long, but there's a lot of important aspects in there that relate to human resource management, specifically artist managers. There's a toolkit in there. So hopefully elements of that kind of spread throughout more easy to digest areas. I potentially have a couple conferences coming up this next year as well to talk more about my research. But I do have an abstract published from a conference that I did, and I can send that over to you guys. It was with the University of West London, and it's just a short blurb because I spoke at the conference, but you can technically cite that, but hopefully more with my PhD, they'll have that, and then people will be easier able to access that.
Amazing. That's so great for us to hear and know about. Do you think the obsession with virality on TikTok and becoming famous for musicians, is it changing artists' kind of opinion on their self-worth or the longevity of their career? Is it having a real impact on the humans behind the music?
Of course, I feel like in every era of the music industry, there has been reasons for artists to feel down about themselves. It's unfortunately part of the nature of the industry itself. It's a lot of taking advantage of vulnerable individuals. One example I always like to bring up is when Adele was going through her divorce. A very common tweet or comment that was circulating was, wow, that next album's going to be amazing. And it's kind of like the public opinion to kind of use artists in these way to divulge great music or discussions. But I think virality specifically is just this brand new and very difficult thing for a lot of artists to master. I saw online somewhere that a musician, she said, imagine during the time of Beethoven, imagine if he had to have a TikTok. And it's just kind of a silly thought, but it really spoke to me in the sense that a lot of the artists that I have met, they're more introverted. They're not ones to run out and about the town, stick a camera in their face. So I feel like we're seeing a very different type of artist today, an artist that can gain online momentum as well as create music. And I feel like, unfortunately, and this isn't to diss any artists that are out today, I think a lot of them are absolutely fantastic. But I think in this decade, and hopefully not longer, we're really missing out on probably some of the best musical minds of this generation because they quite simply do not have the ability to like make a viral TikTok. And sometimes that kind of awkwardness works, but a lot of people, that's just the end of it. I mean, I have a friend who recently signed to a record label connected with Universal. She's fantastic, does a bit of kind of country music. And their most recent conversation was, well, if you can't bring in more followers, we're not going to put this album out. And that's a very common conversation. It's a lot of unnecessary pressure. And just from what I know about being a musician, it's almost like the last thing they should know how to do naturally is promote themselves via TikTok, which is also a kind of brutal platform. People are so quick with cancel culture to end you if you say the wrong thing, if you don't see the right thing. There's so much going on in the world as well. They're not only expected to talk about their music, their personalities, but also the atrocities that are happening, which I think is valid to discuss, but it's just an extra layer on top of musicians' already pretty demanding schedule.
100%. It's so interesting to hear. And like you said, maybe some of the best artists ever aren't going to be discovered, and me and Tom are never going to hear them because they can't do the marketing part or the social media part. That's quite deep to think about, Tom, isn't it? Like, have you ever thought about that? Maybe your favorite artist ever, you've actually never discovered.
Yeah, I think less for myself personally. I think I don't. It's difficult to say because you don't really know how much you are influenced by these sort of platforms. But I would say at the moment, the artists that I love, I haven't discovered through social media, but I definitely am discovering a lot more artists through
Mhm.
social media. But it's all just, again, like not just having that platform and then getting the connections through social media and things like that. Maybe you're a brilliant songwriter or you're a brilliant producer, and the only thing that's ever going to get you in that platform is making those connections online. And if you're not somebody that's naturally gifted at being in front of a camera, or you're not somebody that actually just gets on, maybe you're a bit of a technophobe, you might never make those connections, and you could be incredibly talented and never be able to be in the situation where you can then, get a DM off of another artist that's like, yes, let's collaborate, and then you're never going to go make that song or anything like that. So I do think it is very interesting. But yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting to think about these talented artists, and when, like you said, social media marketing is probably the bottom of their natural catalog, and they're expected to put that first. Don't be good at 10 things, be outstanding at one. There's a lot of talented artists. I'd say do your talent. It would be the message I would get across. Right, we're going to move on to the music news. So big news this week. The Brits will relocate to Manchester for 25-26, moving outside of London, launching with an Oasis celebration. The London Pop Derby happened last week. Robbie and Beyonce performed on the same weekend in rival North London venues with Tottenham and Arsenal. And Aespa's comeback, so K-pop group Aespa, I hope I'm saying that right, is primed for a June return. Details have been linked, and there's been some fan controversy around that. In terms of questions for Tom this week, we've had a few come in. The first question is from Day. And Day has asked, if Tom was a self-help book, what would the title be?
Probably Worrying Less.
You are very relaxed, actually, aren't you? Very chill.
How to Live a Less Stressful Life. The Steps
Let her out of that.
Steps to Modern Freedom by Tom Brooks.
Oh, I like that one.
Maybe I should write it. That'd be great, wouldn't it?
What a title. We've got a question in here. This from Sean. Sean said, Tom, what has been your favorite podcast moment and guest since you started this? Obviously it would be Brenda, but other than Brenda.
No.
I don't know if I have a greatest moment, because I'll be honest, we record these and then I forget them about 2 seconds later. So I don't know if I have a great moment. Did we have Cam Jenkins on, didn't we?
Yeah.
He did a live one, didn't he?
He did.
He did do a live, so that was a good moment. I can put that one down there. Favorite guest? I don't know. We've had so many brilliant guests. It would be so unfair to name a favorite. I like Taylor. A couple of weeks ago, Taylor was good, actually. To be fair, he's a nice guy. So yeah, maybe him.
You had a good laugh with Deeps, and Sapphire's one was quite funny, I think.
Yeah. Those are all great episodes. If you're a listener, go back and listen to them all and see which one was your favorite.
Take a listen back. Right, we're going to move on to some people's absolute favorite part. It is the Tom Westwell quiz. I'm going to pass it over to him. I'm guessing it's going to be me versus Brenda. Is that kind of the vibes?
That is the vibe. That is the vibe. Yeah. So, 10 questions. I've got some key events in music history. So, big moments in the music history. You got to tell me what year the event happened.
Oh, no.
Whoever gets closest gets a point. And if you get it spot on, you get 2 points.
We've never done it this style. This is brand new. Brand new.
So, the Beatles performed live for the final time on top of the rooftop of Apple Court in London in what year?
Maybe like 1972.
I think it was just after that. I'm going to say 73.
Oh, it's 1969. So, fortunately, that is a point for Brenda. I just want to give you a little heads up as well. Josh has, have you won every single one? You've won every single one bar one last week. So he's tough competition.
Not for like doing this, Brendan. I've been on a roll the last couple of months. That's it.
Michael Jackson released his groundbreaking album Thriller, which became the best-selling album of all time. What year? What year was it released?
93.
93.
Am I far off? Okay.
Yeah, you're far off.
Do 82?
82, spot on.
Wow. Let's go.
MTV launched and aired its first music video Video killed the radio star in what year?
That was by Blondie. Video Kill the Radio Star.
I think so, yeah.
What's not the question, Josh?
The question.
You're showing off.
So I saw her live last year and she was unbelievable.
Wow.
And I'm going to guess it was quite a while ago and say 86.
Oh, I was thinking a bit earlier. I'm going to say 78.
Oh, you are both very, very, very not spot on. Neither of you are right. Doing the maths in my head, I think so. It's 81. So I think that's a point for Brenda again. So it's a bit of a hammering here, Josh, isn't it?
Time for a comeback.
Nirvana released Nevermind, making the mainstream breakthrough of grunge music in what year?
91.
It's spot on. It's 91.
Oh, let's go. That's such a good one.
It's only because I have the violin.
Beyonce made history as the first black woman to headline Coachella and performed with a performance now known as Baychella. But what year was that?
2012, I'm pretty sure.
It's not 2012.
Oh.
2011.
2018.
Wow. The first ever in 2018.
Thought maybe 2016. It was that iconic performance. Oh, I was thinking of the Super Bowl. No, Coachella.
Queen performed at Live Aid at Wembley Stadium, delivering what may be called one of the greatest live performances ever. But what year was that?
Oh, I felt like I was thinking Live Aid.
98.
Oh, no, it was a lot before that.
That's not 98.
No, I want to guess 79.
It's 85.
Oh,
There's still a point for you there. So we are.
if I could go back to any concert in history, I always say it would be that one. The crowds, I love a big crowd, and the music, everyone that performed. I just feel like that's such a moment in history.
That gig is that Tracy Chapman as well? Fast Car. Was that the same gig?
I don't know, mate. I'll be honest. I have no idea.
Check.
Anyway.
It said Tracy Chapman did not perform at the 1985 Live Aid concert.
Where I've got that from? It's a Mothers.
I don't know if she got like the recognition she deserved at the time. I feel like Fast Car has kind of become a cult favorite. And then who's the country musician that she's performed with a couple times now? But yeah, I feel like she did more smaller shows. All the videos I've seen of her performing Fast Car seem like not like a Live Aid type of thing, which she should have been at.
She just got like a last minute call out. Know what she was. Wow, but obviously I've just made all of that up.
I think you've made that one up. I think that song got so big because it's quite easy to play and quite easy to sing along to, and I think that's just what has blown. Like everyone learns that at some point when they're playing guitar. You know, it's.
Open your set each time that I tell.
Huh?
Oh, that's your set opening each time.
Yeah, I reckon with that one. Yeah, definitely. All right, on with the quiz, shall we? Elvis Presley.
No.
No. Don't have a guitar with me. No equipment for that. Elvis Presley made his first appearance on the Ed Sullivan Show, shocking the nation in what year?
65?
It's not 65. It's earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Is it going to be before or after that? I think it'll be
Earlier.
before 64.
It's 56.
I was thinking that. Oh.
I've got to give the point to Josh, although he's miles away. What year was Spotify launched?
2010.
It's a good guess. It's not right, but it's a good guess.
I'm going to say closer to like 2000.
It's actually 2008. So I would give the point to Josh for that one. But yeah, Shocked me. I would have thought it was a lot earlier, and I would have thought it like started very, very small.
It was like Napster, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Went to Spotify and there.
yeah, but that did surprise me a little bit. But right. Question number 9. Taylor Swift released 1989, her first fully pop album, signaling a major shift in her career. But what year did that album come out?
2017.
I was going to say like 2015, 2016.
It's 2014. Final question. Adele's album 21 was released and went on to win multiple Grammy Awards. What year was that released in?
Well, it's when she was 21. 2011.
I was gonna on my life. I was gonna say 2011. I was literally just waiting for you to say it. Is it? Is it not?
It is 2011. Do you know I can give 2 points? 2 points to both of you there, but
Let's go.
that's the end of the quiz, and I'm happy to say that Josh has been defeated for another happy. Yeah, for winning that one, and yeah. How did the listeners get on if they're playing along at home?
Yeah, let us know. Let us know. Did you beat me as well? Right, Brenda, I want to come back to you. I'm going to ask a very personal question here. I want to know what you were like at school, a young Brenda. How did you feel about? Did you know about music? Did you know that was what you wanted to do? What were your feelings back then?
I think as a young girl, I was very type A, very much. I was born in Texas, grew up in Ohio, and I appreciate Ohio now, but at the time I was willing to do anything and everything to get out. I did not grow up with a lot of, money in the family. So in Midwest America, you kind of have three choices. If you do not grow up with financial means to go to university, you join the army and you get your tuition paid through that after serving for a few years, or you are an athlete and you get a scholarship for athletics, or you get an academic scholarship. I went down the academic scholarship route. So that took a lot of, studying, being a part of extracurricular activities, anything I could put on that application. And in regards to music, I unfortunately did not grow up with a super musical family. Um, my mom loved Queen and Shania Twain. So we played Queen all the time. And before I personally really got into music, all their songs were so different. I kind of thought there was Queen and Shania Twain, but I thought Queen was all the other music in the world. And my mind was absolutely blown when I realized like Fat Bottom Girls, We Are the Champions, that this was all by one group. And it very much reflected me ending up living in London. So like my brother listened to NoFX, my sister listened to Green Day. So there was all this type of variation, but we didn't really listen to music as a family per se. The first album I really got into was from Mac Miller, Knock Knock. That Kids album really spoke to me. I absolutely loved it. And in my undergrad, I first went into psychology, but then switched to business management. And it was around my second year of my undergrad where I started thinking, what specific industry do I want to be in? If I'm going to be a manager, it kind of gave me the free will to decide. And with the passing of Mac Miller due to a drug overdose, that was a huge wake up call, I guess, and my mission of life. And I always describe it as it kind of like lit a fire within my soul. I grew up in America where I was witness to a lot of issues. Of course, there's problems everywhere, but the Trump election in 2016, the controversy surrounding Obama, who I found to be a great president. I always kind of was waiting for a time when there was an issue that mattered to me that I felt like I could make a difference in. And studying with the background of psychology, studying business management, I was always very passionate about music. I would spend all of my money on festivals, concerts. I was that terrible person that I would either, if I could, I would wait to be in the front, in the sense I would arrive to the venue early. If not, I would make my way to the front. I would stand there for hours, go to festivals, see my favorite performers, make friends along the way. So Mac Miller passed. I had just the passion of listening, being involved with live music, obsessing over albums, listening to them countless times, that it felt like the first moment in my life that there was a real issue that I felt like I had the passion, compassion, and ability to solve. So that's kind of what led me into the music industry. And then that motivated me to look at music management master's programs. Doing business management was great, but nothing touched on the music industry. My naive mind thought school is where you learned how to do things. Now that I've been in school for a decade, I can honestly say the most music industry information that I've learned is from experience working in the industry. Everybody else will tell you that as well. But nonetheless, I moved to London in 2019 to do my master's, found a gap in research, kind of fell in love with doing very in-depth types of research. Also found a gap in people outwardly discussing mental health in the music industry. But thankfully, out of most places in the world, London is a very prominent city that talks about mental health. There's conferences, there's music support, there's Help Musicians UK, there's multiple organizations that are aiming to work with it. I would say Australia is another big area that supports mental health in the music industry. But compared to the United States, London is a lot stronger in that sense. So to shorten, to summarize, did not grow up in a musical family, fell in love with music kind of in my own right. The passing of Mac Miller really motivated me to work and help specifically within this area of the industry where I wasn't ready to see any artist I love die from the pressure, whether it's drug overdose, suicide, mental health complications related to stress. There's just numerous atrocities that I feel as though they're facing.
It's really incredible to hear you had that moment that kind of just it clicked. And the key word I listened to there was psychology. It's a word I don't hear that often in this industry compared to others, I believe. So it's interesting to think like that. I just want to bring Tom in. Have you ever had an IS that has gone through something similar to this that you've really loved and adored?
Yeah, I have. I used to, Josh, I used to love Blind Avon and Ben from that. Ben Gregory, he the front man from Blind Avon. I think they're not a big band, so it's not super big news, but really struggled a lot with his mental health, and it's quite well documented. And I think he has touched on it quite openly as well about those struggles. But that really was like, because they were going so many places, and that really did sort of curtail his career. And I don't think he even really wants to. Not that he wants to, but he doesn't really have that platform anymore because he just took so much time off, and it was right as like the band were getting big. And I think that really for me was like, wow, it can have such an impact, because he had quite you listen to him talk about it, it had quite big impact on his career basically, and he spent quite a long time quite unwell. So I think that's probably the big one for me. But I think it's so important. I do think it's a way that the industry is going. There's a lot more talk about it, and you see it all the time as well, especially like I know it's not the music industry, but like TV and reality TV shows and stuff like that, quite well publicized issues and unfortunately like deaths and things like that have happened as a result of the fame. And I think it's something that quite a lot of people are quite, I would say, naive about, but also sometimes actually quite hostile towards, I guess, sort of normal members of the public. Because you would say like, oh, we should care about these people's sort of, mental health, and we need to do more to protect these people. And I think a lot of the time people are almost just like, oh, well, they're famous and they're living a life that, I would dream of and things like that. And there's a lot of naivety and a lot of, oh, well, what have they got to complain about sort of an attitude. But it's really good that people are starting to we're moving into that part where, you know, there are people behind that and they are just trying to figure their own, you know, they've got their own issues, and there needs to be more done in an industry which is, you know, very well documented to be very ruthless, very harsh, and as quickly as a career can be made and somebody be living the life, that can very quickly go, you know. And you see people there that have, you know, been very successful, and very quickly the rug is pulled out from underneath them, and in those sort of like circumstances, you worry about how they're gonna sort of go on with the life. And I think also like the life after the music industry, especially nowadays with like TikTok and, you know, virality, like Josh mentioned earlier, you know, you can be very, very famous very, very quickly, and that flame burn for not very long, and then what happens afterwards, you know, and how do you deal with that? And I think it's so important to have the right conversations and give artists the right abilities to be able to navigate those spaces and deal with those pressures, because it is a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah. And I feel like a huge issue is the public opinion. When you saw Chappell Roan go out in the Grammys, talk about record labels, but before that, she kind of publicly said, "I'm being harassed by my fans," and everyone called her a diva and made fun of her, and she went viral for that. But she's the first artist to outwardly ask for boundaries, and she came back and said it kind of worked. But despite the negative impact, the negative response she got, the fans kind of calmed down a bit. But the tortured artist narrative, name one genius that ain't crazy, it's the industry versus the art itself. And that's what a lot of studies have shown us. It's once you enter the industry, and just like your example, Tom, artists can love it and really use the music creation as a form of therapy. But the second they enter the industry, that's when the issues start to occur.
It's important that we're talking about on here, and it's important the industry keep talking about it and keep pushing it. Brenda, thank you so much for coming onto the Music Podcast.
No problem.
What did we say?
Thank you, everybody, and thank you for your time, Brenda, and thank you to the listeners.